Now that we have our base service, we can use that inside the iProduct service. It will implement or rather inherit the iBase service. That way it will already have access to the method sendAsync that we implemented in base service. Next thing that we have to implement is the product service. So inside the services folder, we will add a class. This will be product service. This product service will have the base service as well as iProduct service. Then we will implement all the interface. Let's do that. And we need the iHTTP client factory because that is what we have to pass to the base service. So if you examine the code for base service, you can see it expects an iHTTP client factory that we will have to pass from here. So we will first get that using dependency injection. So iHTTP client factory underscore client factory, and we will have our constructor. Then we have to pass this to the base class. So we'll say base and we want to pass the client factory there. Perfect. Now we just need to implement all of these methods. We already have the implementation of calling an API inside sendAsync. So we'll say await this dot. You can see we can access the sendAsync, and here we have the generic type. Since all of the base services are getting this generic method, we will pass that along, and when we call this createProductAsync, we will define what is this generic type, which won't be anything other than the response DTO that we created inside our models. But we like to keep things generic so that we can use it with multiple entities if needed. So here we have to pass the API request. So we can create a new API request and we can pass things based on the product DTO. So right here, we have to pass the API type. We know we are creating a product here, so API type will be API type.post. Next, we need the data because we will be creating a product. So whatever is inside the product DTO, we need to pass that. We'll do that. Next, we have the URL. That will be inside the static details. We have the product API base. If I press F12 here, it is not set right now. Do not worry, we will set that, and that we will do inside the startup class file. The product API base will have a value which will be localhost 44390. Now after that, when we have to call the API, if we go there for 1 second, we can see the route is API/products. So we will have to use that. So the URL will be that path, which is HTTPS plus we have the API/products. Now here, if you make any spelling mistake, your API will not be called. The last method here is access token. We'll keep that as empty. We await this, so we need the async keyword, and we will just return this back. That's all that we have to do inside the createProductAsync. The code is so simple because all the complexity of creating and calling the API is inside the base service that we can reuse every time. So create looks good. Let me copy this and we will work on delete. Let me paste it here. This API type will be delete. We need to add an async keyword. And when we are deleting, we do not need any data. If we examine the API here, and if we see what we are doing in delete, we just expect an ID. So with products, we need to pass the ID. So we'll say plus, and we'll pass the ID. The next one is get all product. We will copy this, paste it one more time here. This will be a get method. We need to add a sync keyword. Let me add that in all the places so we don't forget. And then when we are getting all of the products, we do not need to pass anything at all. We can examine the API one more time. when we are getting all the products, it is simple. When we are getting by the ID, we just need to pass the ID. So if we go back to product service, this looks good. We will copy this and paste it again for get product by ID. In that case, we just have to pass the ID again. Simple as that. The last one is update product async. We will copy what we did with create, scroll down here, paste it, and the type will be put. So perfect. Everything is looking good with our product service as well as the base service. Let me close everything that we have open. Last thing that we have to do is we need to configure some things and add them to dependency injection in the startup class file. Let's do that in the next video.